Micah Parsons has been under fire recently, and it's not just because of his on-field performances. No, this time, it's all about his podcast. You've probably heard about it, right? Well, there's a reason why it's become such a big deal, and it's not exactly what the media is making it out to be. When you really stop to think about it, the criticism surrounding Micah's podcast isn't about his focus on football. It's about something much bigger, something that might have slipped under your radar. The real reason why people are so hard on Micah Parsons is pretty simple: he's disrupting the media landscape. Now, I'm not talking about the impact he's having on the field, which we all know is massive. I'm talking about his growing influence off the field, specifically with his Bleacher Report podcast. What Micah is doing is rare for an athlete, especially in the NFL. He's carving out his own space in the media world, and it's making some traditional media types uneasy. Think about it. For years, the media has had the monopoly on sports content. But now, here comes Micah Parsons, stepping into the same world, creating his own narratives, and drawing in audiences that once only turned to the big guys on TV and radio. And let's be honest, his podcast is getting traction. People are actually tuning in to hear what he has to say, and that's something that traditional media isn't used to seeing. So what do? They start labeling it a distraction. But here's the thing, Micah's podcast isn't taking anything away from his football career. It's just a part of his growing brand, something that has people talking. Now, let me ask you this. Do you really believe that Micah Parsons, someone who's been a 3-time All-Pro, a Pro Bowler, and has 52.5 sacks, is letting a podcast interfere with his game? I don't think so, but that doesn't stop the critics. They want to make it seem like his off-field ventures are somehow affecting his on-field performance, and when you step back and look at it, you can see it's all about something else. They're scared of the competition. Micah's doing something that they've been doing for years, but he's doing it better, and they don't like it. That's the real reason behind all the negative chatter. It's about self-preservation. The more athletes like Micah take control of their own narratives and media presence, the less power traditional media has. And honestly, I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg here. So, what do you think? Is Micah Parsons' podcast a distraction, or is he just stepping into a new era of player-driven content? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss the latest Cowboys news. Let's get the conversation going. Now, let's switch gears for a second. We've talked about why Micah Parsons is under fire for his podcast, but there's something else brewing that might surprise you. Enter CeeDee Lamb. That's right, CeeDee is making his own move into the content world, and this time, he's taking to YouTube. You heard me right. The wide receiver is starting a blog series on YouTube, chronicling his journey through the 2024 season. And you know what? This is a whole new chapter in the world of NFL players using their own platforms to tell their stories. But here's the kicker: just when you thought Micah's podcast was shaking things up, here comes CeeDee Lamb, potentially throwing his own hat in the ring with his own series. Now, you might be wondering, why is this important? Well, think about it. Micah and CeeDee aren't the first athletes to jump into the media world, but they're some of the biggest names making waves right now. And let's be honest, it's going to make the traditional sports media even more nervous. Why? Because they've always controlled the narrative, and now these athletes are taking it back into their own hands. I'm sure you've noticed the explosion of YouTube content. It's not just for fans anymore, it's for the players too. And while some might find this exciting, there's a segment of traditional media that doesn't feel the same way. I mean, look at how the media reacts when a player like Micah Parsons starts gaining more and more attention for doing a podcast. They start trying to paint it as a distraction. But in reality, it's a sign of the times. Players like CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons are doing exactly what they should be, doing their evolving with the landscape and using their platforms to connect with fans in ways that weren't possible a decade ago. Now, I can't be the only one who's curious about what CeeDee Lamb's YouTube series will bring, right? Is he going to give us an inside look at what it's like to negotiate a big contract? Will we see the behind-the-scenes moments from the 2024 season? I mean, who wouldn't want to get a glimpse into the mind of one of the most exciting young players in the NFL? So, I want to hear from you. Do you think CeeDee's move into YouTube is going to make as much noise as Micah's podcast? Or do you think he's just following the trend? Let me know what you think in the comments. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit that bell to stay up to date with everything Cowboys and get in on the conversation. Now that we've talked about Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb's ventures into the media world, let's take a step back and really think about what all this means for the future of NFL players and their relationship with the media. This isn't just about the players having podcasts or YouTube series, it's a larger shift that could completely change how fans interact with their favorite athletes. And honestly, it's a shift that's been a long time coming. If you remember back in the day, traditional media outlets were the gatekeepers. If you wanted to hear from your favorite player, you had to tune into one of the major sports networks or read about them in the newspaper. But now, with the rise of social media and platforms like YouTube, athletes have the power to share their own stories directly with fans. No filter, no middleman, just raw, unfiltered access. It's a game changer for the way fans connect with players. But here's the thing, traditional sports media isn't exactly thrilled about this change. They've had a monopoly for so long, and now they're losing control of the narrative. And that's where the tension comes in. You can see it in the way they've been attacking Micah Parsons for having a podcast. It's not because they think it's distracting him from football, but because it's taking away from the traditional media's dominance. When athletes can create their own content and tell their own stories, they no longer need to rely on these big media outlets. It's not just Micah and CeeDee, though. Over the years, we've seen more and more athletes taking control of their own image. LeBron James with his The Shop series, or even players like Von Miller with his podcast. These guys aren't waiting for media outlets to give them a platform. They're creating their own, and trust me, the impact is huge. The media can't ignore it anymore. This is a battle for the future of sports media, and the athletes are winning. So what does this mean for you, the fan? Well, it means that you're going to have more access than ever before. You'll get to hear directly from the players themselves, and you'll be able to connect with them on a whole new level. You won't have to wait for a reporter to give you their take on a player's performance. You can go straight to the source. And honestly, that's something we've never really seen before in the sports world. But here's where I need your opinion. Do you think this shift is a good thing? Is it better for fans to hear directly from the players? Or do you think there's something valuable about the traditional media outlets? I'm really curious to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're getting closer to 14,000 subscribers, and we want you to be part of it. Now that we've explored the shift happening with athletes taking control of their own narratives, let's talk about the bigger picture here. What does this mean for the Cowboys, and more specifically, for Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb? These two players are at the center of this conversation, but their moves could be setting the tone for the entire franchise in the future. When you look at the Cowboys, you have to acknowledge that they're already a brand in their own right. The team has a massive following, but the players themselves, especially stars like Micah and CeeDee, are becoming brands too. Think about it, Micah's podcast isn't just about football. It's about him building his personal brand. And the same goes for CeeDee with his upcoming YouTube series. This is no longer just about playing football, it's about marketing themselves and creating opportunities outside of the field. And it's not just about these guys making money, although, let's be honest, that's part of it. It's about connecting with fans in a way that was never possible before. Micah's podcast gives fans an inside look into his life, his thoughts on football, and even his personal views on the game. CeeDee's YouTube series is going to do the same, but it's also going to give fans a chance to see the human side of these players, the moments that go beyond the stats and the highlight reels. And for fans, that's a huge deal. Here's where the Cowboys come in. This new wave of athlete-driven media is a great opportunity for the team to align itself with these players and support their personal brands. Imagine if the Cowboys leaned into this shift and created content alongside Micah and CeeDee, showcasing the players as more than just athletes, but as entrepreneurs, content creators, and influencers. It's an opportunity for the Cowboys to be at the forefront of this media revolution. But will they take it? We're at a crossroads. The Cowboys have always been the team that capitalizes on star power. Think about how they've built the legacy of players like Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Tony Romo. Now, it's about adapting to a new world where players are their own media moguls. If they play their cards right, this could change the way the Cowboys market themselves and interact with their fans. But if they ignore this shift, they might miss a golden opportunity to capitalize on the personal brands of players like Micah and CeeDee. So I want to hear from you. Do you think the Cowboys should embrace this new era of player-driven media? Should they back their stars like Micah and CeeDee as they build their personal brands, or do you think they should focus strictly on the football side of things? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and remember, if you're enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 14,000 subscribers, and we can't do it without you. To wrap things up, it's clear that the landscape of sports media is changing, and players like Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb are leading the charge. What we're seeing with these athletes stepping into the content creation space is not just a trend, it's the future of how players will connect with fans. The days of traditional media holding the keys to a player's narrative are fading, and athletes are seizing control of their own storylines, and honestly, can you blame them? After all, these guys are more than just football players. They're personalities, influencers, and, let's face it, major brands in their own right. The ability to connect directly with fans, control their image, and even make money from it, that's a game changer. Whether it's Micah with his podcast or CeeDee with his vlog series, these athletes are proving that they don't need to follow the traditional path to be successful. They're carving out their own space, and it's working. But what does this mean for the future of the Cowboys? Well, that's still up in the air. The team has a unique opportunity to embrace this shift and support players like Micah and CeeDee as they grow their personal brands. If the Cowboys can get on board with this change, it could lead to a whole new way of connecting with fans, one that goes beyond just the game itself. But it's up to them to decide if they want to embrace this new era or stick to the traditional ways. Either way, the players are already making their mark. Now, as a Cowboys fan, I want to know your thoughts. Are you on board with this new player-driven media trend? Do you think the Cowboys should lean into it and support their stars? Or should they focus more on the game and less on the content side of things? Drop a comment below and let's get the conversation going. And before we go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're aiming for 14,000 subscribers, and we'd love to have you along for the ride. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.